everybody thinks of Tommy as a, meat and potatoes drummer because of the Motley Crue stuff. But man, when we were working on his records, his imagination just goes crazy and he just hits all cylinders. And you're like, wow, man.
Rock, metal, prog, and everything in between. Welcome to this episode of Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. Don't forget to follow the audio-only Talkin' Rock podcast on all podcast platforms. And now, it's time for today's conversation. Here's Meltdown.
Phil, how's things with you?
Dude, I am doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing well here in Detroit Rock City as we talk today. The record is dropped. Pow right in the kisser. I just have one question to ask you. Has Jackie Gleason's lawyers contacted you?
There is no copyright infringement as of yet.
Is that right? We're
Right.
about the same age. People younger might be going, I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, but it's funny though. A lot of people, even the people that don't know what I'm talking about, really still like it for some reason. Like, I mean, for me, it's not. You're not about to punch your wife in the face.
Right.
It's just punching people generally in the face, but with rock and roll.
Right, exactly. That's exactly how I took it. Obviously, there's like a little bit of wordplay on there from our from our childhood, perhaps. But yes, Bake the Day Away is out. Of course, Broken Arrow. Why didn't you name your band Phil X and whoever plays drums? That's probably what should have been the name of the band.
It should have been that. That goes way back to even when we were gigging, and Jeremy Spencer, who played on this record, was actually the first drummer in the Drills until he decided that he wanted to explore his metal roots and started Five Finger Death Punch, which worked out pretty well. But after he left the band, it was just like I feel like there was a different band, a drummer in the band every week, because it was like, hey, if you got a great drummer, he's playing in 5 or 10 bands. So I'd be like, yo, dude, we got a gig at the Whiskey on Friday. And they'd be like, oh, sorry, I got a gig. And go to drummer number 2. Hey, dude, we're playing the Whiskey next Friday. Sorry, man, I'm on the road. It was so frustrating. And then that turned into getting a different drummer on everything that we record. Now that it's done, though, I think the next record, I just want to jump into the studio with Daniel and Brent Fitz and record 11 songs in 3 days, and like the old Zeppelin, Van Halen ways,
Yeah, of course. I didn't realize that you were in the band with Jeremy before he started Five Finger, because that's got to be going back to the early 2000s.
Yeah, like 2003 to 2004 or 5 or something like that.
Yeah. So the drummers got on here. I mean, Ray Lazier, for my money, that was the last time, and I'm talking maybe Rock on the Range. I can't remember where I saw him, where I was just like blown away. And this is like 2017, and since then I've had a hard time being blown away by drummers. But Tommy Lee, of course, Brent you just met, Jeremy, Brian Tichy, Liberty DeVito, who I've actually interviewed before too. That's kind of an interesting one. It's like, kind of like which one doesn't fit here, but he's a legend, and of course you want to work with a guy like that.
Well, we met on the Hired Gun documentary shoot.
Right, yeah.
And I was just watching him drum. Like, everybody's like, oh, yeah, he's 70 something. And then he got on the kit and played like a kid. And I was like, what? And his energy was just blowing my mind. So he's in New York. I was in New York doing two sold out nights at Madison Square Garden with Bon Jovi. And I thought, okay, legendary drummer. I gotta get a legendary studio like the Power Station, record him on a tune, and he ended up playing on Broken Arrow, and I think he knocked it out of the park. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's great. And plus, he's played to a sold out Madison Square Garden a few times.
Yes, he has.
So also Connie Arnoff, who's also in his 70s, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he's drummed on just about everything that's been recorded outside of Chad Smith, I suppose.
Well, the fun thing with Kenny is that I can't even count how many records we played on together by other artists. So that's how that happened. We just, as soon as we were in the studio together, we hit it off. And that's what's going to happen when, even no matter who the artist is, you're in the live room, and there's a connection and chemistry and camaraderie. And then, hey, let's get this for lunch. And then record another couple more tunes. And then you're pals and you're in each other's phone numbers. And I'm like, hey, man, will you play on my record? And he's like, of course.
No, that's
I'm like,
great.
hey man, will you come to my blog party? And he's like, of course. If he's around, obviously, you know.
Kenny does a lot of stuff. It's the funny thing about this. I remember I was interviewing someone years ago, and I can't remember who it was, and they sent out like a track that they had recorded to another artist. And like I said, I can't remember who was even telling me about this, but they had this fear in the back of their mind that what if it comes back and I don't like it? Did
Right.
you have any of that fear?
No. And you know what? Because I worked with all these guys, and I actually wrote a lot of the songs with the drummer in mind.
Okay.
For instance, the Tommy Lee thing, and we have a history too because I played on all his solo records, and everybody thinks of Tommy as a meat and potatoes drummer because of the Motley Crue stuff. But man, when we were working on his records, and he'd get on the kit, and I was like, what? Like the grooves and the fills, and his imagination just goes crazy, and he just hits all cylinders, and you're like, wow, man. So I really wanted to capture that. So there was a drum solo that I saw on the live video of a Motley Crue concert, and he was just playing this groove, and I literally wrote "Fake the Day Away" to that groove. And the funny thing about it was that I sent it to him. It's just a vocal and a guitar, and then he sampled it, put a loop on top of it, slowed it down like 10 beats per minute, and said, "I love it, but this is the tempo." And I'm like, "You're the boss."
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that.
Yeah. So I guess if he wants to change the tempo, you change the tempo.
Oh yeah, man. He just wants to get the heads a nodding,
Yeah.
up and hey, yeah, we're in. But we slowed it down a couple more times. Once Tommy, Daniel on bass, and me got into the studio, we slowed it down a couple more times, and that's the final tempo that you hear. And I think the tempo's kicking it. And we played it live in Texas 2 weekends ago, and that was me, Dan, and Brent, and it sounded so good live that I forgot I was playing. Like I was doing this solo, and then I stopped, and I'm like, dude, why'd you stop? And I'm talking to myself now in front of people, going, hey, dude, you're playing. You're not just listening. Come on. And then the third course is coming up. Jump back in. It was so funny because it's such a killer live, and I'm so happy that we could play it because it was the third single.
Okay. Yeah. So do you have a tour planned with your band?
We don't. I'm currently waiting for the Bon Jovi schedule to come in so I can fill the gaps.
Oh, okay. I got you.
And I'm hoping I think it's going to be in the next couple of weeks. We'll know what's going on, and then I can jump on some dates with the drills because I really feel like playing the stuff live is really going to take it over the top.
Yeah. So you played on the Methods of Mayhem stuff?
I did.
Oh, okay. No kid. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Way back in '99. That was the first time, and then actually after that, I think it was Never a Dull Moment, and then after that was Tommyland the Ride, which not only did I play most of the guitars, I wrote a song that got on that record called Tired. And then when he had to go do some like TV shows like Ellen, and then we went to Europe and did some TV shows in Germany and Amsterdam, and I went and did those with him too. So it was really cool because to work on a record like that is a lot of fun. And he's just a lot of fun, man. He's like, if he's making music, he's like a 12-year-old in a candy store.
That he is. Yeah, I've met Tommy a few times for sure. He's definitely
Yeah,
not. He doesn't act his age. That's for sure.
definitely not.
So, was there any drummers that you reached out to that for whatever reason couldn't play on your album?
What's the funny thing about that was Josh Freeze. I was expressing my disgruntlement regarding drummers not being able to do my own record. And that was the drummer that we were playing with at the time. His name is Randy Cook, another Canadian who plays with another, he plays in 100 bands. And I was like, hey, I want to record the new record in June. And he's like, I'm going to be on the road until October. And I'm like, damn it. So then the following week, I'm in a session on somebody else's record with Josh and Chris Chaney on bass, and we're getting ready to record. And I was expressing my frustration, and he said, hey, man, I'll play on a couple of songs. And I'm like, dude, really? He goes, yeah, because he played on a few songs on our second record, We Bring the Rock and Roll. And then Chris was like, hey, man, I can get Taylor Hawkins to play on a few songs too. And I'm thinking, okay, so maybe I'll have a few drummers on this record. And then we ended up getting Taylor. He's on the last record on Stupid Good Lookings Volume One on Too Much for My Own Good. And Josh, even though Josh sparked the idea, we could not get a schedule together. If I was home, he was on the road. If he was home, I was on the road. And then we never we never connected the dots, and that's too bad. But maybe next time.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what was it like working with Taylor? Taylor, believe it or not, well, you don't know me very well, I suppose, but I've never met him. I've met Dave and I've met all these guys on your, drummers list practically. But what was Taylor like?
Taylor was awesome. He literally, um, he showed up like he was going to the beach, and he had like two pairs of sticks and a bag of Jack in the Box, and flip flops and beach shorts and the crop tank, and kicked off his flip flops and got on the kit barefoot. And we were a band. Like every time we record with a drummer, it's like we're a band for about 90 minutes. We kind of co-arrange, and it should do this. And he was like, "Hey, but I'm going to stop here before we go into the third chorus." And then I'm like, "Yeah, but go completely crazy at the end." And then we laid it down like two or three times, and we're done. Hey, thanks, man. Next. It was kind of like that. But no, really, really insightful and really brought his A game, man. And it was funny. And we just had a great time.
Yeah, for whatever reason, our paths never crossed. I don't, just one of those things in life. It's funny. Some of the rock stars I interviewed at the beginning of my career, I haven't seen again since, or vice, whatever. It's just kind of crazy how this,
Wow.
you know,
Yeah.
like for example, John Bon Jovi sat on my Harley Davidson, I want to say in 1994, and wrote on the chrome piece right down the middle of it on a steel horse I ride wanted, and I haven't met him since.
What the hell?
It's just kind of
But
weird.
that's a good story though.
It's a great story. I got an awesome picture of it. That my friend was working for the band at the time, and I was pushing my bike out of the backstage of this outdoor shed in Western New York, and he says, "Hey, let me take a picture of that." And so I got this really kick-ass picture on my wall.
That's awesome.
The bike's gone, but the memory and the picture remain, I suppose.
Well, did you get more for the bike with the inscription on it?
No, this was way back when I was young and dumb and poor, and I didn't know really how to keep it on there. So I probably should have got another
Uh,
piece, but I couldn't afford anything back then. But yeah, you mentioned the Bon Jovi. So you guys are going to go on tour this year. You're just kind of waiting for the call.
it's it's looking like we're going out. Yeah, we're gonna do some stuff. I don't know how lengthy it'll be, but it'll be. I think it'll be an introduction to way more happening in 26.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Bon Jovi now?
Well, I mean, I kind of sat in for Richie in 2011 for a month, and then he came back, and then in 2013, I kind of filled in again, but he didn't come back, so I've been there since. So
Is
like, wait, April? Oh my God, April 2nd, it'll be 12 years.
12 years, okay.
Yeah.
And you just played with Richie like a month ago or something, didn't you?
Yeah, we played this. It was for first responders, and we were all just up there having fun, man. It was great.
And you played Wanted Dead or Alive, correct?
No, we played "Living on a Prayer."
Put on a prayer. Okay, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was a great benefit, huh?
It was crazy. I got to play with a lot of people that I've met before and played with before, and then a couple. Who was really awesome was Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon.
No
We
kidding.
never met. Super nice guy, and just got up there, and we didn't get to rehearse. We just did a quick sound check, and then I'm like, wow, man, he sounds great, and a super nice guy. So that was really cool. When you meet people like that, when you meet people like that, and I think he came up to me and he said he had just watched the Bon Jovi documentary. Um, and he said, I went, man, when I was watching episode 4, I'm like, who is this Phil X guy? He's so cool. So I'm really happy to meet you. And I'm like, well, I'm really happy to meet you. And hello, you were on my AM radio on the driveway when I was a kid.
Yeah, or in the roller skating rink.
That too.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that feeling. I was just talking with somebody about this the other day that there's there's hardly any bad people in this business, I find. Anyways, in the music business, we've never met in person. I've interviewed you before, and it's like you just start talking to people and it just comes out and people seem to be pretty nice.
People are pretty nice. I think there's been way more killer experiences, and maybe I don't know, the percent of sour experiences is probably like one.
Right. Yeah. There are the people that seem to walk around the chip on your shoulder, but you kind of move on and you just keep, doing whatever you're doing. I've met John before, like I said, super nice, obviously.
Yeah, really nice guy. Like he's and everybody wants to know, right? What's John's? And he's a boss. We have awesome moments, and we have he's a boss moment. But it's funny. In the beginning, it was weird because I was I had a very special experience with John Bon Jovi for 2013 for months because um he was so grateful that I was able to come out and like basically save the tour. Even that's the word he uses. You saved that tour. And because when if he's the show must go on kind of guy, and I was the guy that kind of helped that happen. So I was immune to the evil eye for a while.
For a while.
You know what, man? He wants it to be right. So it's your job to just deliver every night. And that was me, I think I made the right choices. My choices were to respect the band and the songs and Richie and the fans. And that was it. You walk in and I can't be Richie Sambora, but I also can't be 100% Phil X. So this guy in the middle is showing up and delivering every night. And for the most part, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So that was good choices.
No, it is kind of crazy like that. I remember seeing Axl Rose, sing for AC/DC. And when you see Axl Rose, he's Axl Rose. But when he was doing the AC/DC thing, he was kind of like, he kind of laid back and let Angus kind of take the reins.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always a boss on stage.
Yeah, what was it like? I mean, those first few times playing those Bon Jovi songs. I know my friend Damon Johnson, told me crazy stories about playing just iconic Alice Cooper riffs for the first few times, and you're on stage. I mean, that's got to be mind blowing.
It is mind blowing, but you got to keep yourself in check
Right.
because otherwise you'll like freeze or start shaking, or people are like, "Were you nervous?" Because my first show was 50,000 people at the Jazz Fest in New Orleans in 2011, and I just walked on stage like, "Dude, you got this. You've been singing and playing your whole life. It's just Bon Jovi songs. Go do it." And that was the talk I had with myself instead of, "Holy shit, dude! Oh, what are you gonna do?" I mean, everybody says it's being at the right place at the right time, but if you don't deliver, you're going home.
Yeah. How'd that first
Yeah.
show go?
It was amazing. It was great. And then I also got there was something that a fan that helped me out. I remember her name being Robin. She posted every song on YouTube in HD by the next morning, so people could. Oh my God, they played without Richie. Let's go look at these videos. Hey, this guy isn't bad. Obviously, there's going to be the diehard Richie fans that are like, yeah, this guy sucks, and we want Richie back. And there was a tweet that I let out that, hey man, I'm just helping the band out. I don't want Richie's job. The show must go on, and if I can help, I'm helping. And that was basically it. That basically got more people on my side. And then actually the Bon Jovi documentary also got more people on my side too. So there's always, and then you get on stage with Richie and the comments are like, wait a minute, they're friends? It's like, what? We're adults, man. We're not 5-year-olds gonna get into a fist fight on stage.
Yeah, and that had nothing to do with you as far as I know. I don't know, but it's like, I mean, but I just did something on stage the other day, and luckily one of my friends taped it, and then I got to watch it back. But it's like, how it is when you're on stage, sometimes you're in the moment and it feels different. Then you watch it back and you're like, oh, okay, it's better than I thought, or whatever the case is. So maybe watching those tapes back too may have eased you a little bit as well, huh?
Well, yeah, and there was a lot of really good reviews too. But I also found out my first time, I also found out that the web press situation, or maybe even other press, TV, news, everything like that, everybody kind of like, what did they write? And what did they write? So as soon as as soon as somebody said guitarist from Triumph fills in for Richie Sambora, it didn't take long for another press source to say Rick Emmett replaces Richie Sambora, and I'm like, what? And then that's when I realized that nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody's just flying by the seat of their pants.
Yeah. I just talked to Rick a couple weeks ago. He's got that new book out. Have you seen or read his book?
I haven't seen it yet. I have to check it out though. He's a wonderful guy. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's great. So you're going to be obviously on this Triumph tribute coming out. Allied Forces is what you're doing. Tell me about that project.
That came together. Mike Klink and Gil Moore were discussing it, and Gil was like, "We got to get Phil X to be like the house guitar player," and I had already done a few things with Mike Klink, and he said, "I was thinking the same thing." So you'll hear me playing rhythm guitar in a lot of songs, but when Mike called me and said, "Hey, are you available to record 4 or 5 Triumph songs next week?" And I'm like, "Yes," but before we get started, my band, Phil X and the Drills, are doing Allied Forces. And he's like, "Sure, okay." And so we recorded Allied Forces with Tishy on drums. And then Tishy and Daniel left, and we did another 3, 4 songs. That day was crazy. It was Tishy playing Allied Forces with me, and then I believe it was Tommy Aldridge playing Spellbound.
Wow.
And then, oh, who was the other drummer? There was another drummer that day too. So I got to play with a lot of really cool cats. And
What a great song.
yeah, so it was really great. And then also, um, there was a bunch of other, you know, Mike's idea was getting lead guitar players to do different solos on different songs and stuff like that. But there was also, hey, when you do one of the rhythm tracks for Hold On, why don't you take the solos too? Because I think you'd be perfect for it. So Mike had a really good idea of what he wanted, and that's why he's the producer that he is, right?
Yeah, he's legendary, obviously. I
Yeah.
was talking with Rick about this, and it's probably not much of a secret, but he is such a great guitar player, almost underrated, I think.
He can be. There's been a lot of people call him their favorite guitar player, but he was so well rounded and so had so many different voices when it came to the guitar. Obviously, his singing too was something else. But yeah, his guitar playing, man, and it was really really cool because you heard the Zeppelin influence early on, and then he became his own guy, which was really cool. And that happened too with Alex Lifeson too. Alex Lifeson was very pagey in the beginning, and then he grew his own vibe. And it's funny because it reminds me to something reminds me of something somebody said last week. They were talking about, hey man, how is it all these Canadian bands just have this big sound? They're just trios, and they sound huge. And it's Rush and Triumph, and now it's you guys like Phil X and the Drills. All these 3-piece bands sound huge. And another guy that was standing right here said, I think it's the metric system. And that was the funniest thing I heard in a long time.
Now, you grew up, I think from our last conversation, you grew up in Toronto, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Toronto, yeah. Man, I
Yeah,
haven't been there in a few years. Last time I was there, I stayed right down the street from the Hockey Hall of Fame because that's what you have to do.
right. Yeah, man. And dude, I saw so many concerts at Maple Leaf Gardens growing up. And then obviously at some point that turned into condos. And then they had the Air Canada Center, and I got to play the Air Canada Center a bunch of times with Bon Jovi. So that was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you a big hockey fan?
I'm not. I sucked at sports. So I just stuck to guitar. I think it went all right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it went great, obviously. But it's funny too, because talking to you, you don't sound Canadian. You probably get that a lot.
Well, I moved to California in '97, and I in my head, my plan was to lose the A really quickly to not give it away. But every time I say sorry,
Story, yeah.
People are like, "Hey, you're Canadian." I'm like, "What?"
Or
No
about.
way.
Uh,
No, I think my about's okay. It's the story.
yeah, yeah,
It's the teller. It's the giveaway.
story. Well, I'll tell you what, Phil, we'll cut you loose. Phil and the Drills is out right now. The new record, How Right in the Kisser. The Triumph record comes out on June 6th. We'll look forward to that. I can hardly wait. My friend Bumblefoot is on that.
Oh, dude, I heard his track. He did Rock and Roll Machine, and it's ridiculous. He did this solo that somehow it's so Bumblefoot, but so like he quotes the original Rick Emmett solo, but in his Bumblefoot way. Ron's a genius, man. He's just a genius.
He is him. I mean, he's one of the best guitar players I've ever seen live.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
It's unreal. But yeah, looking forward to that. June 6th. I've got all those records on vinyl, man, all those Triumph albums, just classics. And we'll look forward to seeing
Uh,
you out in Bon Jovi. Maybe I'll bring next time if you're here in Detroit in the summertime, I'll bring my latest Harley Davidson.
awesome, man. And bring the tool to
Yeah,
inscribe.
I got a few more bucks and a few more cents now. But yeah. And hey, by the way, we share one thing. You, I, and Jerry Horton, we all have the same birthday. Jerry Horton from Papa Roach. So next time you see him,
Dude, I will. And but you know who else has our birthday? And happy belated birthday, by the way.
you too.
Chuck Norris.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Dude. Because they were the whole Bon Jovi thing, they're having this whole my birthday's on the same day as this guy and George Harrison and Paul McCartney and this guy and that guy and Mick Jagger. And I didn't know who had the same birthday as mine, so I'm out of the conversation. And I don't want to be the tool that's Googling it while everybody's having this conversation. But I get to my room in the privacy of my hotel room, and who's got the same birthday? Chuck Norris. I totally would have won.
Well, now you can add Meltdown from Detroit to that list.
Woo! Thanks, man. Thank you so much, dude. It's been a pleasure talking.